Hey guys, as many of you know by now, Domichi has made her directorial debut with Turning Red. And I found that the film hit incredibly close to home because, and this may shock you, I am a Chinese Canadian. A Chinese Canadian from the city of Toronto. So in light of that, I'm not exactly an expert in Chinese culture, but what I am an expert in is the city of Toronto. I thought this would be a great opportunity to point out some of the references and Easter eggs I saw in the film. So with that out of the way, let's get started.
There it is, men. Toronto.
It's beautiful.
It's kind of rare for Toronto to play itself, but when it does, boy does it ever. The Toronto skyline in the film features very prominently, but how did they do in terms of accuracy? Pretty good actually. The first thing you'll notice is your mandatory CN Tower and Sky Dome combo. A bit of trivia here, the name Sky Dome is a bit of a retro Toronto thing, because in 2005 the stadium was purchased by Rogers, a Canadian telecom company, much to the chagrin of many Torontonians. But of course, that's the obvious stuff. So let's zoom in now. Many viewers will notice that this was before there were many of Toronto's new condos. For our comparison's sake, my dad filmed this excellent shot here in 2001. Well, he didn't film it for this video because it's like 21 years later, but you get the point. Also, if you look closely, you can even see First Canadian Place with its iconic twin broadcasting towers. And yes, the Daisy Mart is real, and you can find them around the Greater Toronto area. Something to note here, not everyone pronounces Toronto the way that locals would say it.
At least according to the Toronto Transit Commission.
One of the oldest temples in Toronto. And the most...
Boys are coming to Toronto on the 25th.
Look, the 18th Toronto!
Our temple is the oldest in Toronto.
So for reference, you would drop the second T in Toronto, so instead of Toronto, you would say Toronto. But that said, not everyone who lives in Toronto is from here originally. If you moved in from small town Ontario or further afield, then chances are you would probably say Toronto. West Chinatown is the most prominently featured area in the film. Mei Lin's house seems to be at the major intersection of Spadina and Dundas. The signs jutting out of the buildings here is a pretty big tell. And yes, I have to say West Chinatown because we have like 3 or 4, I've lost count, I'm sorry. As for the shops themselves, the film does a really good job at capturing the Chinatown vibe that's not just specific to Toronto. Prominent examples include Chinese barbecue shops with their freshly roasted goods on display, this giant pho shop sign, and these grocery stores that have produce out front. And yes, 416 is indeed the area code for Toronto. Now, we can't talk about West Chinatown without highlighting one of the most iconic features, the Gateway by artist Millie Chen. This piece was installed in 1997 and it features a phoenix, dragon, the Monkey King, and a Qi Lin in the shape of the Chinese character for door. Small nitpick though. This shot here technically would not be possible because the twin dragons are not visible from Dundas Street. Nor are paper lanterns ever really a thing here to my knowledge. But these things make the shot look so cool, so maybe we can let it slide because, you know, what's a bit of artistic license? Now, a place isn't really all about looks. A lot of cities and even neighborhoods have their own distinct sound profile. While it's not super prominent in the sound mix, if you listen closely to the background characters, you'll hear that the main language spoken here is Cantonese. Specifically the dialect spoken around Guangzhou and Hengong. This is because up until recently, most immigrants came from the Chinese province of Guangdong, British Hong Kong, and eventually Hong Kong SAR. Mandarin would later become more and more prominent as more mainland immigrants moved to Canada. Last bit of geography trivia, I think this might be Kensington Market here, which if you look on a map is the neighborhood immediately adjacent to West Chinatown. Admittedly, it's pretty hard to pin down whether this is actually a reference or not since its appearance is so brief, but if it is indeed Kensington Market, it is as the name sounds, a market neighborhood that is incredibly diverse. Whatever cuisine you're trying to cook, you can probably find the ingredients for it here.
Next station is Spadina Station.
Now, if you spend any amount of time here in the city, you'll have likely taken the TTC at some point. It's simply not Toronto without the Toronto Transit Commission, for better or worse. These streetcars here are historically accurate, as are these street posts. What is unfortunately not accurate is the wheelchair accessibility ramp. The CLRV models don't have this and in fact feature very, very steep stairs. So if you were in fact wheelchair bound, chances are you could not comfortably ride these vehicles. Something that would be later corrected with the new lower floor ramp equipped Flex City Outlook cars. But as the saying goes, better late than never, but later is never better. And super nerdy fact, 1202 would not be a fleet number issued to a CLRV. These would be in the 4000s range. Also, there is no Chinatown streetcar. Most, if not all, streetcar marquees feature their destination to help with navigation, since many routes use the same rails. But for the purposes of this film, we can probably let that slide because places like Dundas or Broadview Station are very specific local knowledge. What's curious is that the TTC's logo and slogan aren't accurate here. Also, Mei Lin would have definitely been eligible for a student Metro Pass, which would have been markedly less expensive than a full adult fare. Locals here jokingly call the TTC Take the Car because sometimes they're slow or there are crazy delays, which is not untrue. But speaking of cars, the license plates seen here are era appropriate and formatted correctly. The provincial slogan is "Yours to discover," which admittedly sounds a lot less cool than Quebec's "Je me souviens." It's no secret that Toronto is a pretty big sports city. Hockey has always historically been the major sport, as you can see here with the Toronto Maple Leafs mascot, Carlton the Bear, adorning the shelf at Mr. Kieslowski's office. But given the Leafs' track record, fans are understandably looking elsewhere for success. This Blue Jay here at the end is a very obvious shout out to our baseball team, the Toronto Blue Jays. And of course, Tyler's basketball jersey is number 15. Vince Carter was the player who put Toronto on the map as a basketball town. And although the end of his time here was very much a bad breakup, it was all good years later when he got a standing ovation when he came back. I'd argue if Vince Carter weren't here, this moment here could not have happened. These last few tidbits here are just general Canadian trivia, but since Toronto is a part of Canada after all, I guess I'll put them in by default. A Canada Post mailbox is seen here in this shot. These are deposit boxes that you can use to send letter mail or small parcels. And Lester B. Pearson was the 14th Prime Minister of Canada. He was born in the Newtonbrook neighborhood and he served from 1963 to 1968. While there is no Lester B. Pearson Middle School, several schools in the Greater Toronto Area do in fact bear his name. Money also plays a big part in the core story, and the $5 bill is indeed era appropriate. Curiously though, the Looney and Toonie don't have their loon and polar bear, but instead feature a rooster and a puppy. A box of Tim Hortons Timbits can be seen here. And I've actually got a box of them right here. I Uber Eats'd it. Is that a verb? Normally when you... Oh my god, I'm gonna try to do this without like tipping. So normally when you buy these, they come assorted. So I think this is the one that's in the film. So this is birthday cake flavor. Not exactly sure what that means, but let's try it. Alright, that was the most 7 out of 10 Timbit I've ever had in my life. Also got a drink to wash this down with. Don't worry, it's a... Oh, fuck. That went down the wrong hole. Now, there's no doubt about it, Tim Hortons is an internationally recognized Canadian icon, but admittedly the quality of the coffee and food has kind of gone downhill. So, hopefully they can bounce back, but until then... And there you have it, that was every Toronto, Canada reference I could find in the film Turning Red. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't worry, it's a French vanilla, which still slaps.